It's late May here in Portland and the garden chores are piling up. The retaining wall project is still shaping what I can do and can't do in this driveway garden. Welcome to PDX Garden Home, where I grow in the maritime climate of the Pacific Northwest. Today, I'm working around the limits of the unfinished retaining wall by creating a temporary container row that'll become my main tomato growing space for the season. I'm also going to amend the pots with some organic fertilizer. That way the soil has a chance to start building before the plants go in. But of course, garden days rarely stay that tidy. While I'm working around the retaining wall, the espalier apple trees start getting in the way, so I'll give them a spring trim and take a closer look at whether they're even setting any fruit this year. Then we'll move into the more joyful part of the day, planting up some summer containers, and if you've been following prior videos, you can probably guess there are peppers and flowers involved. Today's a bit of soil building, a bit of pruning, a bit of planting, and a bit of improvising. So come along and let's garden. What I have here is what I'm gonna take to calling my container row. I was gonna call it the whiskey barrel row, but that wouldn't be quite precise or accurate because I do have some additional containers on the end there that aren't whiskey barrels. So I'll just call it my container row. And the reason that I have this is because I am creating some growing space supplement or in lieu of the garden beds that I would have up here if I wasn't building retaining wall there this season. So I don't anticipate keeping this here next season. I anticipate having nice beds in there and moving these throughout the garden in some fashion because this is taking up some of the driveway space, and this is actually a working driveway. Garage is just down there, so it's not a terrible inconvenience, but it's not taking up any of the driveway space is not ideal because it's hard to get in and out of here sometimes if it's too constrained. And on top of that, if I do have a garden bed back here, having these containers here is going to make it harder for me to reach over to the garden bed. I designed this so that it would be easy and convenient for me to reach over from the driveway to that first garden bed that will be between these two retaining walls. And so yeah, that's all to say this is a one season temporary setup here, and I think I've convinced myself that this is where I'm going to grow most of my tomatoes. We'll probably have more tomatoes than just that, so I'll have some planted in other areas, but this will be the main tomato row, which means I'll have some tomatoes in there, and then I'll probably have marigolds in the pots with them, maybe some basil, things like that. Two things that I'm trying to do today with these containers is address the potatoes on the end. So if you watch in a prior video, I planted just a few, not a lot, but just a few just for fun potatoes, some seed potato on the end there that I got from Portland Nursery, and growing well. They've sprouted, they're coming up. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting potting soil now on top of that. I'm hilling it, or I'm filling the container over is sprouted so that they can continue growing through that, and I'll keep layering that up as the potatoes grow. So that's operation one, and I'm going to be amending these containers with complete organic fertilizer that I got from a place called Concentrates. I've gotten complete organic fertilizer from years. They make their own right there, bringing things together, but they also have like all the possible ingredients you could want, an individual macro component or micro component, whatever that is, but they have all and you can like mix and match and make your own fertilizers that way if you want as well, or they have other kinds of specialty fertilizers. I'm just using a generic complete organic fertilizer that they put together. Generic makes it sound like it's lesser than it is, though. They do a really good job of what they put together, and at the base of it, it's got fish emulsion for the nitrogen, it's got blood meal, it's got rock dust in there for the mineral content, and that's why I'm doing it. There's two reasons why I use an organic fertilizer, and if you watch my other videos, I'm not opposed to using inorganic fertilizers, so I'm not dogmatic about this. I use inorganic fertilizers in some cases and organic fertilizers in other cases. But the reason that I use an organic fertilizer, there's two primary reasons why and when I use an organic fertilizer. The first reason is when I'm trying to build soil, because that's what an organic fertilizer does, is it builds your soil. So in the beds that are out here, which there aren't very many, and right now the only two places that have in-ground permanent beds are behind you there over on the side of the garden against the fence line there. I've got a long bed that's in the ground. So that's a place I want to build the soil. And then around the cherry tree that's over that way, beyond what you can see right now too, but that has an in-ground portion to it as well that's been put up, that has been propped up by a new retaining wall that I put there. And the point is that when I've got that kind of in-ground bed, I have an opportunity to actually build soil. And what do I mean by building soil? Well, I'm building soil. I want the beneficial microbes and the goodness come in, and it's ultimately the soil that is going to feed the plant. And so an organic fertilizer feeds the soil first and then gets broken down by microbes, and then it's the soil itself that feeds the plant. So when you know that, that's one of the reasons I'm putting it in now before I'm even putting any plants in, is in a lot of the goodness that it comes from an organic fertilizer and that I'm going to use here can't be accessed directly by the plants immediately. It has to break down. It has to feed the soil first. It has to work within the microbiology of the soil before then that goodness within the soil is actually able to feed the plant. So it's a longer term process than the shorter term kind of shot that you might give a plant, which is what you've seen me do in my nursery operation. So when I'm in a nursery operation, I'm in the nursery stage of the plants, I'm giving it liquid soluble inorganic fertilizers because I'm not building soil in that case, and I am trying to feed just the plant in that case. Building soil in containers like this is a big question mark because I don't know that I'll have that soil or where that soil will even go next year, right? So this is not in ground. So the building the soil argument starts to break down a little bit in this kind of environment. However, I might just be imagining this, but I feel like the minerals and goodness that's in the organic fertilizer actually makes my produce taste better. So if I'm growing like tomatoes in here, maybe basil, things like that, but primarily those tomatoes, I actually think my tomatoes will come out tasting better fed by that organic fertilizer, the minerals and everything that are in there. And that is a secondary reason, is that I want to get the nutrition that is in the organic fertilizer into the soil. I want it to create as much good soil as it can in the short period that we have in one season. And then I want to get that into the tomato because I feel like it makes the tomato better. I feel like it makes it taste better. So that's a secondary reason. First reason, getting back to it, is building the soil long term. Hard to argue that when this isn't a long-term solution. But the secondary reason is I think it kind of just makes the produce better, and that's why I'm doing it here. I wasn't gonna do this today, but I'm in the process of working on the retaining wall, and I have to kind of dig out this area here, push some of that dirt over as part of what I'm working on here. And as I work through there, these branches are getting in my way. And as I was thinking about it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of time to trim them. My espalier is losing its shape. So I'm gonna be giving this a haircut. Now I wanna be careful that I don't damage any potential apples, but the disappointing thing is I don't think there are any. I don't know what happened, but because normally, I mean, these trees have been here for over 16 years now. Normally I get apples on these every year. I don't remember seeing the flowers, and I'm not seeing any little apples. Maybe as I cut this back, I will start to see something. About this time of year, I'd expect them to be little like pea size as they kind of form where the flowers would have been. And my hope would be that even though I didn't see the flowers, is that I just didn't see them because they were brief and I was busy or something. But yeah, it's concerning that maybe they didn't flower this year for some strange reason, and now we are not going to have any of these apples. When I'm trimming here, my goal is I'm trimming back from the main structural branches. I'm trimming the shoots back so that there's maybe 2 or 3 leaves on a little branch. That's typically how I do it. Well, this should be a fairly simple planting. I've got a sprouted dahlia bulb here. This time it really is a dahlia bulb, unlike my prior mistake of staking the gladiola for the dahlia bulb. And you know, that was a silly mistake because gladiola, the sprout or the stem doesn't look anything like a dahlia, but I was just so anxious to get the dahlias. I think my hope that my dahlias were sprouting at that point overwhelmed my common sense. But here, this really is a dahlia. Then I've got some cosmos. I just thought some tall kind of cosmos coming out of here would look kind of well. So I'm just gonna put the dahlia in the middle and then put the cosmos around it, and that'll be that. You can see the roots of the dahlia coming out there. Keeping it simple here, I'm not even wearing a glove. It's nice and warm out here today. There we go. There's the dahlia. Well, I have another audacious combination here. Got a mystery pepper plant. I was looking for my Anaheims. I thought a big old Anaheim here would look good in this big white pot that is on the corner of the cherry tree garden here. And I'm not sure that that's what it is because I couldn't find the labels in the tray. Go figure. It all happens every year. I do all this labeling and then I get down to it and I can't figure out what some things are. In any case, got this mystery pepper that'll go here, and then I've got another dahlia bulb that that has just started to sprout here. So we'll see the little sprouts on the end there, so I'll throw that in there. And then it hasn't even formed roots yet. And then in the back I've got a couple of Crackerjack marigolds here that I'm gonna throw in there. And then they'll be big, bright yellow. And then in the front here, I'll have kind of the blackberry petunias I've been treasuring. Okay, so getting to it here. Start with the pepper here. See what we have there. Okay, look at that. So that's perfect in terms of, you know, the roots aren't crowded yet, but they're starting to get crowded there at the bottom. So we're getting it just in time, I would say. Done worse in terms of overcrowding my plants before in their containers before getting them out here. Okay, so I've got my pepper in there. And now I'm gonna get the dahlia over here on this side. And I don't really need the soil that's in there since there's no root structure in there really. Oh, there's a couple of roots coming off of it at the bottom there, but they're not stuck in the dirt or anything. So I'll just put the dahlia down in there. And now I'm gonna split the marigold into two plants here. And I'll put one right here. And I'll drop another one right there. And then I've got to put my petunias around this edge here is what I'm thinking. Well, I'm over here on the west side of the garden, the west side garden of the driveway. West of the driveway becomes kind of the centerpiece of this driveway garden. And here I've got the row of pots that goes all the way down there. And I'm just going to start right on one end and work my way down. So what I thought would be neat to plant in here is quinoa. And this I'm growing for the purpose of the decoration and just for being able to say, hey, I've got quinoa in the garden. I've grown this before successfully, but I honestly have forgotten how deeply it might root or not deep if it needs a lot of deep space. So this might be a mistake putting it in that relatively shallow pot there, but I'm gonna give it a go. I've got other quinoa, so I'll try it in a couple of different places. It's been a pretty weak seedling, actually, comparatively. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's like the seeds are like threads, and there's more root in there than is apparent because it's like just coming apart there. So hopefully this will do okay. It's a warm day today too, so I probably should have done this early in the morning, but now's the time that I'm out here. I'm gonna just stack these pretty close together and let it survive whatever survives, and that'll be that. The other thing I want to put in there is the nasturtiums. Probably only need to put one nasturtium in here, but I'll put two. These are called the peach melba nasturtiums, and I grew these last year. They did okay. They are a nice kind of peach color. These were planted from seed just in May, actually, so they're kind of quick to germinate. Warm weather gets them going. So I'm going to plant two of these. I put them in because they're relatively larger seeds, and I knew they would root quickly. Put them in these larger containers, and so yeah, there you have it. It's already there. It looks pretty healthy. I am planting a Thai chili pepper and some couple of pink calendula in this pot here. So I'm gonna put a glove on just to get my hand too crusty. Get this guy right in the middle here. And ideally I wouldn't be planting in the hot of the day. It's going to be nearly 80 degrees today, and it's already past 75 degrees. So I'm going to make this the last pot for today, and then I have another project to go work on. I'll have to come back at this in the morning when it's cooler. Should have thought about that earlier this morning. These are the calendula. There's actually more than one in there. Nice, thorough, protective watering against this heat. The retaining wall project is still unfinished. The permanent beds are still waiting, and some of this container setup is only temporary. But that doesn't mean the season has to pause. That's one of the things I'm learning from this driveway garden. Sometimes the garden you imagined just has to wait a little longer. So you grow the garden you actually have. I'm excited to see how the tomatoes do in the container row and how these summer pots fill in over the next few weeks. If you've enjoyed spending this garden day with me, please consider subscribing and following along as this Northwest garden keeps unfolding through the season. Thanks for gardening with me, and I'll see you in the next one.